Alrighty folks, we are doing an NHL awards recap as it is getting really stormy outside, so I hope the power doesn't cut out and affect my lights. But anyway, before we get into that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So I did a couple of videos talking about awards and who I think should win, and you can go check those out if you would like. I might try to put that in the comment section down below or whatever. But anyway, we'll kick it off with Calder. No surprise here, Connor Bedard ends up going out and winning this award. And I can't really say that I'm shocked because I said Bedard probably should have won it. He led in goals, assists, points, and did all of this despite the fact that he was on a team that was not very good. And he also did it while missing a significant amount of time with a broken jaw. Now, I know people weren't necessarily happy with the plus minus and some of the things about the defensive game and just the fact that he did get bullied at times in the league. Obviously, a lot of players will in a welcome to the league type moment. But looking at all these things, you can clearly see he is a difference maker for his team. And if you put better players around him in the future and you just make this team overall better, he could theoretically be a very special player for the franchise. I'm not going to go out there and say he's going to be Kane and Tays level important like some of these other guys that have 3 championships, because I do know championships will decide a legacy. But I also know that this is a great start to his career, as he had like over 150 votes for first place. Brock Faber, of course, gets second, and that kind of caused a little bit of disturbance because I think a lot of Minnesota fans and fans of teams that might not like Chicago did like the fact that Faber played a lot of minutes, and tough minutes, mind you, had a lot of assists, and just played in a role that probably wouldn't be expected of a player so young, and he also got to play for his hometown team. Unfortunately, though, you do know points and things like that will probably play a factor in this. Bedard is just a flashier player. And interestingly enough, Luke Hughes, the other finalist, ended up getting 0 first place votes, but only 5 second place votes. I did say that I felt like he was going to be an outsider in regards to this because his plus minus was not good. But also I said before about how plus minus doesn't necessarily work all the time. And with him being out there with so many empty net goals against his team when he was playing, that really did drag it down. So I'm just going to say with Luke, you never really expected him to. But when you're looking at the voting, you're like, man, tough break there. Still though, Bedard ends up winning the Calder. Make of that what you will. Now, as for the Hart Trophy, there was certainly some talk made about who ended up winning this, as you had Nathan MacKinnon win it for the first time ever. And this comes after he set a career high for goals, assists, and points. I mean, this guy cracked 50 goals. He had nearly 90 assists. He just had right around 140 points and was on a Colorado team that certainly benefited from him being out there in the lineup. Now, I know a lot of people talk about, the fact Kucherov was robbed. He had more points and was a player that just also had an amazing year. But I think really what held Kucherov back here was the fact that his numbers defensively were not up there with MacKinnon. And also the fact that like 5-on-5, he barely had a differential in terms of that in a positive way compared to somebody like MacKinnon on a team that, probably is better. Tampa Bay certainly is still a team that can make the playoffs, but they're not nearly as good as they used to be. But yeah, MacKinnon being 4 points back, having more defensive value probably explains that. Plus, Kucherov did end up having more power play points, but I do want to add he had it in less minutes. Still, though, looking at all of this, you probably could make the argument that if you were a big Kucherov fan, oh yeah, he got robbed. My hope is that he is still somebody putting up big seasons. He'll get something like that, and he's already, a guy that's got other things to his name on top of winning 2 championships. It's okay if he doesn't end up getting the Hart. And as for the finalist, Connor McDavid, I almost said Bedard there, but for McDavid, you are seeing him finish 3rd. I don't really think he cares about that. He's already won it, I think, 3 times to this point. Probably more of the fact that he is thinking about the Stanley Cup final loss that's on his mind than the fact, I didn't win my 4th Hart. Still, probably would have liked it to have it, cover up the loss a little bit of losing the Stanley Cup, but it is what it is. And again, for my slip-up saying Connor Bedard, hopefully he is in Hart conversation going forward in the future, maybe as early as next year. Now, as for the Norris, you had Quinn Hughes. I'm really excited as a Canucks fan. This is the first Canucks player ever to go out there and win the Norris, and this comes after he led in points for defensemen and played a big role for the team as they were able to go out there and have a big year. He had like 170 first place votes, might have been a little bit more. It was kind of crazy, but I think what was more crazy in my mind was the fact that Cale Makar finished 3rd in voting and Roman Josi finished 2nd. Now, Josi put together a year that was really good, especially the fact that he was 33 years old, playing on a team that had a little bit less talent than these two. But he had less points than Makar, and I think he played more games. Also a guy that got, decent amount of power play time, thing like that. I really thought that he would be the outsider, kind of like Luke Hughes was for the Calder, but still to finish 2nd, that's probably fine. For Josi, it's okay. He's already won a Norris, and he's probably thinking about something else, the Stanley Cup at this point in his career. As for Cale Makar, young guy that's already won it, that is already a Stanley Cup champion, things aren't too bad for him. He had a career year, and he's more focused, again, kind of like Connor McDavid, getting where he wants to be. Now, he's got a championship as McDavid doesn't, but Makar has seen his team knocked out early in the past 2 postseasons, wants to be able to win that championship, as Colorado is in an interesting spot where they still should be good, but you're also wondering how good they'll be next year. And then finally for the Vezina, you have Connor Hellebuyck winning his second Vezina, but his first since 2020. This was the favorite to me, at least out of all the candidates for a lot of these awards. I felt like Connor Hellebuyck was the guy. Yes, some of these stats were closer, but he played on a team that needed him potentially more and was worse defensively compared to the other two, which is what I talked about in that video. Connor Hellebuyck is carving out a very nice career, and I think at this point, I am just hoping that he can win a cup, whether that's with the Winnipeg Jets or not. I don't really care because, again, if a player is going to win a championship but he's not going to be able to do it with one team, even if he's been there for a long time, I'm not opposed to seeing a player eventually go out and get with another team. But of course, I'd like to see it with Winnipeg, and he was a huge reason how this team was able to compete for the Central Division. A fun year for the Jets. I really do hope that they can get back to breaking through the playoffs, because it's been like a lifetime since they've actually gone on a deep run. And I'm hoping that Hellebuyck can be the facilitator of that, can go out there and have, like a .938 save percentage over 3 rounds or something like that. Maybe even go out there and be the reason they win the Stanley Cup. A team that's going to be fun to watch out for. But of course, for Connor, congratulations to him. As for the runner-up, Thatcher Demko, another Vancouver player. I didn't expect him to win it, and it's okay because he is young, he is under contract, he's on a team that just won the division, and I think with this year, obviously he was a starter, but he is firmly the starter, and he could go out there now and have motivation and say, yes, we were good last year, but I want to make sure that we're good next year, and I want to make sure that I'm the guy, and maybe I can go out there and win the Vezina this time and help get this team where they want to go, which is winning the Stanley Cup. Before the season started, I would have said that was laughable. But after what we saw last year, especially for like the first 60-ish games or whatever it was really fun. And they looked like a team that could have been dangerous. They nearly knocked off the Oilers, even without Demko. So you're hoping that next year can be better. There are some things that are kind of moving around with this team, but I do think that I'm very excited to see how that'll go. And then you have the final guy that finished third. That was Sergei Bobrovsky. Now, looking at a guy like Hellebuyck, he got 31 out of 32 votes. Bob, of course, didn't get 31 out of 32 votes. Could you think that he could care? Probably not. He could care less. It would have just been the cherry on the top, as he's already won the Vezina twice, so that would have been nice. But more importantly, he just got finished winning the Stanley Cup just days ago, and that's what it's all about. He had a really good season, but he was chasing something greater, something that he hadn't achieved in nearly 15 years in the NHL, and was somebody that stepped up in Game 7 when the Panthers were kind of reeling a little bit, and there were some breakaways and things not going well for him when you had, those rush opportunities, the 2-on-1s, things like that. And for Bob, yeah, maybe he could go out there and win it next year. That'd be really cool. But anyway, yes, those are the ones we're going to be talking about right now. So Bedard wins Calder, McKinnon wins the Hart. You have Hughes winning the Norris and Hellebuyck winning the Vezina. So what are your thoughts on this season? Do you feel like anybody was snubbed? What were some other awards that you really thought were interesting with the results? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go love all. All right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.